winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. We have a very, very special guest, a story you're not going to want to miss, and somebody who's near and dear to us for other reasons, which we'll share. But before we get into the introductions and introducing our guest, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Nick Menard and nickmenard.com with his Amazon best-selling book, The 1% Push Legacy. Thank you, Nick Menard. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Will, and the winners.
Here we go. So, would you like to have the honors of introducing our special guest?
Of course. That's my pleasure, as usual, but this even more. So, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Mr. Vincent Lanci. So, a little bit about this story. I want him to explain it because it's phenomenal and it's very inspiring. But I want to say that the reason why I know Vince is because of the first book, Mindset of My Degree. Mindset is my degree, sorry. I know the Persian company can fix that.
Right over your shoulder. It's all good.
So Vincent was helping me in my first book, being a ghostwriter. And I was inspired by the way he was challenging me on the book. You know, sometimes you get to part where you blank and you're like, Vince, I have no idea. Oh, I can add to what I already share. And he asked the right question in order to get where I needed to be and for the book to be successful. So I owe him a lot for the success of the first book, definitely. And then I was talking to him about podcasting because he has a couple of podcasts that he's going to share with you more about, I'm pretty sure. And he said, well, Nick, actually, I can help you guys with that because, you know, I own a production company that helps podcaster. I'm like, perfect. So we start working together pretty much a month after starting the podcast. Made a mistake in beginning with another company and then moved to Vincent, and it was day and night different. Thanks to his outstanding team, the visuals on YouTube. Please go check our YouTube channel, Two for the Win. That's Vincent's team who are actually putting all that together. And his continued advice about how to improve it as we go. So Vincent is someone that I trust and someone that was able to help us drastically and help me drastically. He was not involved in the second book, but he was always available to help in any way he could in the process. So I wanna thank him here live in front of millions of listeners, and also be able to give him the platform to share his story because, like I said, it's very inspiring, and I highly encourage anyone to go check his LinkedIn page, which he share a lot about his story as well. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to Mr. Vincent Lanci.
Thank you for having me. Long overdue, and still waiting for these guys to get on my show, so I'm excited for that. Everyone, please be sure to subscribe to their show. YouTube's a tricky thing, but get to their page and find their videos because they put a lot of passion in each episode, and you'll really enjoy them.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Appreciate that, Vince. So I know I made a very, high-level introduction because I want you to share your story, and then we can go from there and see a little bit how you can share the timing when you turn what your life story was into something very, very inspiring and positive for the people and the impact you have on others.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me, guys. I was left for dead. When I was 21, I was walking home. I made the decision not to get in the car with someone drinking and driving, and I ended up getting hit by a car that left the bar on my walk home. Woke up about a week later out of a coma, had to relearn to walk and talk. The nurse asked what school I went to, and I said Pulaski Road Elementary School. My brain was taken back to a 5-year-old, even though I was a 21-year-old student studying finance, right? Hyper-focused on that job title and end goal, and then eventually money didn't equate to happiness directly for me. After the accident, I felt I was being underutilized, didn't have a mentor, any leaders in my last corporate stop, and through writing and podcasting, I got to meet these two amazing guys who do great work, not just on the show, but are inspiring also on LinkedIn. So make sure you follow them as well.
Yeah, no, thank you, Vince. So what a story. Can you walk us through a little bit deeper about the steps that you had to take in order to get back to I don't like to use the word normal, but being back to a normal lifestyle. And how did that, life experience influence you to do what you do today, which you can also share?
Well, I mean, talk about dark, tough days. I was in 82 degrees in Tampa, flew back to New York. It's 28, snow up against the back door. You see on the glass. So I had the extra mental push there. But the real motivating factor came, and this is 2013. My parents got a call in the middle of the night. Hey, Vincent's in the hospital. You got to fly down immediately. There was no direct flights to Tampa, so they had to fly to Fort Lauderdale, call Tampa General Hospital, make sure that I'm still alive, and then board the transfer over there. So those things helped me get in that mindset of not miss a meeting, not miss an appointment, miss nothing, because if I make this and do the little things, I'll get back to my end goal of being independent, being in Florida again. I mean, I was in my last semester a few days before I was supposed to start doing interviews, getting ready for my final chapter there and move on. No, boom. And this is when, Instagram was first getting popular. I'm in my bed recovering. My friends are out senior year, last bit, and I'm not able to make memories with these people. So I just worked my butt off from need 24/7 care forever to never finishing school. I mean, the expectations went on. I went back to summer classes just a few months later after the January accident. Knew it would help me in my real last semester. I was only one semester behind, which was cool. And then that started everything. Just knew I wanted more out of life. So I stayed for grad school, failed every every practice GMAT exam, right? I'm bombing it, studying, not understanding why. It's because my brain wasn't the same. I couldn't retain this information. So I got waitlisted while I was working at Price Waterhouse Coopers, and it was a busy season gig before I was even fully graduated. So it was very humbling, but the dual monitor checking statements all day for insurance accuracy, it wasn't for me. So took that call and never looked back.
Oh, it's really inspiring when you think about it. Like, people talk a lot about, and as we do on the podcast around mindset and how to fight through challenges and taking adverse opportunities and growth. But you can't really fathom a more adverse opportunity when your life is at risk, and having that happen. And I can only imagine, waking up after you lost a week because you're in a coma. And then, like you said, you're going through that process. So, like, when you were early on, I know you made an allusion to the window and the weather in Florida to get you, motivated to come back. But what were some of the things that you kind of focused in on to help you speed up your recovery, get you to a place where you're now a serial entrepreneur with a lot of different things, as well as passion community projects that you're involved with? Like, when you were lying there and going through that and all that rehabilitation, what sort of things kind of did you gravitate to that powered you through?
Well, when you hit the bottom, you can only look at it as going up. There was no way I can change what happened to me, and you're in denial for so long. And that's just in life, right? We all go through situations where we may be in denial about what's really going on. The longer you stay in la la land and in denial, you're pushing how long it's going to take for you to get where you want to go, right? I had to do X, Y, Z. It may only seem like I have one appointment for the day, but for a brain injury survivor, I had to find a way to get out of bed, eat breakfast, shower. Like, it's a longer list with just remedial tasks we do every day. So starting by going, like I said before, the little things, going to one meeting, okay, making my second, not veering off the track. Once I fully accepted it, it made things easy. But when I got back down to Florida, it's an invisible disease, the traumatic brain injury. My face was no longer purple. So everybody thought I'm fine. Nothing's changed. When I was really, struggling to find a way to go grocery shopping for the day, and that'd be it. So at that point, you just got to remember that, hey, you could be dead, right? It's going to be terrible. It's going to suck. It just is what it is. So just keep doing it. And then I just realized these annoying at that point expectations of, all these experts telling me what I'm going to do and be was very limiting, because I got hit by someone I never met. I didn't do anything wrong, right? Crossing in the bicycle lane. So I either let him ruin my life forever, or I turned something negative into something positive. And in this line of work, it certainly took some time to get, situated, leaving a corporate salary with finance and MBA to doing this. But once you weather out the storm, you start getting connected to better people, better connections. And that's how we met today. Ultimately, Nick shared how we met book coaching, and then Will came on here with the podcasting. So if you don't put yourself in the room, you're never going to talk to who you want to.
No, that's for sure. No, but it's very powerful. But, candidly, and I think you're being a little modest, because there's some people who would treat it as a victim. Like it would have, they would have took a very different path. And it sounded like, in spite of the different things that you had to tackle to get you to the place you're at, you just kept at it with the right mindset. And I mean, because I can only imagine, like, if you're studying and you're doing a job at PwC, like you're a sharp dude, right? And then you have that injury and things don't come as quickly as they used to, but yet you found a way to power it through. And I think channel it into something like you said that's more meaningful to you and can impact others' lives. So maybe if share a little bit about how you parlayed that into your podcast career, because obviously people can already tell you got the pipes for it, but it's more than just the voice, right? It's the mission behind what you want to spread out in the world.
This was the end of the 1 foot out, 1 foot in, the itty bitty committee in my head. Like, Vin, you going to do this or not? I was at my last bank job and I left and I started putting together Left for Dead, my first book. And that was like 4 years in the making, just 4 years of people pushing me to do it. I'm like, okay, now what? I had a bad experience and I got a book. That's not that many people, but it's still a lot of people. Like, what am I going to do? I've got no budget. What can I do to get my message out? I'm not going back to corporate. So I took the chance and started a podcast, failed every single imaginable way, even the obvious things that were just blinded to me. And then eventually over time, someone starts asking for help. And then eventually that brought Coming Alive podcast production. I mean, these mediums, you click play, it goes out to the world, and you don't need a million hits per episode if it's a million people that don't care, right? You want to really centralize that mission. Something these two guys do a great job at, right? Whether it's Monday, Wednesday, go back after you subscribe to the Friday episodes so you can hear the fun sports talk. But in life, just go ahead and, if you could take my advice, go down something you're passionate about. It's not just about the money. It's great, it is, but eventually you may find yourself unfulfilled just later than I did. And now you look at these guys, they're always finding ways to extend their skills, their services. Right now, this podcast, several years in, gives them that authority figure for what they do. And I know it's a joy for me to listen to, and I'm sure it is for some of you too. So leave a feedback, leave a comment for them. Let them know how much you enjoy the shows.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Vince.
Love it.
I appreciate it.
I
But
second the motion, by the way.
yeah, but I want to get back to your story because we have, as everybody know, like 25-30 minutes, and we want to make sure that people understand, because I introduced you the wrong way, because I forgot to mention about your book, and you are also an author and publisher of different books. Can you share with the audience, like, what your books are all about? I think that's one already you mentioned. That's pretty clear, but I know you have more than one. You also help people starting podcasts, and you have a book for that. And then your podcast itself, you have a lot of guests to share their own story and things of that nature. Can you share with us, first of all, the book that you have and where to find them, and also the podcast, maybe a couple of very impactful stories that you were able to have from your guests that can also inspire our audience?
Yeah, thank you for asking. The books are what started everything, and book coaching now is just very, very selective. Like if someone wanted their book, and I'd have to really have alignment with it, right? Like one at a time, nothing crazy. But the books, it started with Left for Dead. It's a story about my life. My mom had a journal in the hospital with all the ridiculous things I said, did, ate, you name it. So that's a good way just to get to know me. And of course, if you have a TBI survivor in your family, or you're just going through a tough time, I think my story may give you a new perspective on things. We've got a book for working remote. I wrote during the COVID pandemic, a little ebook. So if you're trying to switch over to entrepreneurship, it'd be a good idea to start realizing how you don't just sit in the couch all day, watch TV, and gain weight eating, right? You have to kind of
Oh,
be more strategic there when you're home all day. But the most impactful
call that
books,
Bonbon University, by the way.
I've got a Healthy Minds book series. It's a book for each age group in the mental health world. Going to School is the Mommy and Me. Mental Health Week is the next level up for elementary school kids, and then Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health. But the two that are relevant to my business, right? You write so many books, I didn't even write the ones that are going to be the most impactful on my life, while the other ones make a great impact. I want to start a podcast book, helps us coming alive podcast production as our onboarding tool. And it also gives people out there who don't have the resources or interest in coaching a lower price point to go ahead and get your journey started. Cause at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Just go out there, do 10 shows. You do number 11, you've already done more than like 80% of the people. So remember that 5 million shows means nothing because most of them didn't even find the commitment because of the work ethic, and look at them, how far they've gone. So give them again another subscribe. But then TBI Recovery, my most recent book, really proud of it, for traumatic brain injury survivors and their families, to bridge the communication gap on what a survivor thinks may be happening and then you interpreting it 1,000 different ways. So those two, and that's with Living Proof TBI coaching, where I work with families and survivors on that end. So I don't really advertise the book writing too much, but again, that is if it's a good fit. I always love helping in a small role as a book coach or a ghostwriter, helping you get that author copy for the first time, ripping that paper open, right? Ripping it out. It's a really good feeling because of all the hours that go in, but also the mental beat up you give yourself trying to put this in. Does this sentence sounds good? Is this, it's a lot mentally, but remember, there's never a perfect book. There's never a perfect podcast episode. You can try to edit it 1,000 ways. I mean, I was talking about this with my aunt. She reads these big, James Patterson types books, right? Big books. And almost everyone's got a spelling error in it, right? And these are professionally published books, right? So there is nothing perfect. So just go out there and share your story, because you never know where it will take you. I mean, look at Nick, he hit bestseller, and that could be you.
Yeah. Now, if I can do it with broken English and third language, moving 13 years ago from Europe, anybody can do it.
Yeah,
That's my
especially as a Cowboy fan. That is for sure. Truth. Preach, brother.
Well, that's a good time then,
it.
don't have
Oh
any
my God.
get back in here. We had a lot of fun with their sports series,
There
but
it is.
topic
Oh my God.
yeah, but
We're not gonna talk about the Jets because I want the audience. We have to stay in audience, so I will leave it like this. But I wish you all the best, brother, for the season next year. The coach already mentioned that you guys will turn everything around and going for the Super Bowl. So
There we
I will
go.
probably put a bet on that it's not gonna happen this year. But hey, who knows? I hope for you, for your own sake, that you can go to the Super Bowl this year. It's gonna be where, in LA. So let's make
Ooh.
sure that we go to LA all together, rooting for the Jets against maybe the Cardinals. I don't know. It's a crazy year, uh, but yeah. So can you? The second part of the question was more about the kind of guest, maybe one guest that stuck to your mind based on the story that was shared on your podcast, and because like again, you turn your story into something inspirational for others. So maybe you have like a guest appearance that you had in the past, and that stuck with you, and that you would like to share with the audience.
I'll give you a couple. That way your audience gets some new connections. One, and this is years ago, Todd Palmer, he made the Inc. 5000 list 6 times in a row, I think. I mean, talking about the little things, like when you listen to these Monday Mindset episodes, take these advice and implement it, because these are things that are actually going to help you. And I got a lot of that from him as well. Another impactful one was someone who worked at Fox News and then went out and did her own thing. Her name's Dana Arshan. She does a lot of work with the Holocaust museums all over the country and the world, and she's now traveling the world doing her own reporting. So those two off the top of my head, but every single story blows me away. I'm probably at almost 1,000 or maybe 1,100 episodes, and I learned something from every single episode you do. There's something in that episode that you can take away, and I'm just one data point, right? The goal is to get as many data points as you can and interpret it in your life, right? Mold it into what's unique for you and what makes sense. So like little things, and I'm sure we'll get into some more tips soon, but start a podcast because the conversations are just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's for sure. And, for our listeners and our audience, you may not have caught it, but again, Vincent left a job, PwC, Corporate America Bank, and then starts a podcast, didn't have any previous experience, and now is over 1,100 episodes in. I mean, so it just goes to show, like, you don't have to have a ton of expertise to get started. It's like Vincent's saying, you act first, you learn, iterate, grow, implement, and 1,100 episodes later. So, with that being said, I know what it's important to have a mission, right? And you want to get that out there. But what are some other like high level tips you could give some folks who are maybe contemplating? They're like, I have something I want to share, but I just don't know exactly how to get started or take those first fear filled steps. What would you recommend that they do?
Well, even before name, before logo, before all the sexy stuff you want to get to, you have to think, what is the value you're trying to bring, right? What are you trying to do? Make sure that there's a need for what you're talking about. It's nice that you've got a lot of great ideas, and as entrepreneurs know, we have thousands of ideas. They all sound good at first, but not many of them, like business ideas, you got to go forward. Make sure you know the value. And then what's your UVP with what you're doing? What's your expertise? How are you going to be different than the other podcasts? And once you get those two, I'd say define your target audience, right? A listener persona, right? Once you have those three things and you can spend some time on that, you know who you're talking about, you know why you're there, and you know it's something people want to listen to or watch, then you can start looking at names, right? Then you can start doing all the fun stuff. But if you don't actually build a foundation, you're going to be one of those shows with 10 episodes or less. And again, the amount of shows should not discourage you. I learned with zero experience. I had a MacBook, called Apple. I said, hey, I've got GarageBand on my computer. I know you can do this, but I don't have a clue where to start. Please give me the basics. And, it's not rocket science, but you just have to learn and develop systems and find little ways to do it. It's just very time consuming, right? The process, you have network for your guests, right? Networking with people who may have a big network who can give you guests, right? Then you prepare, right? Yourself or the guest, you record, you edit. That's the most time consuming. Then you got to upload. Some do the follow up, some market on social media, newsletters, you name it. And then you rinse and repeat. So there's a lot to do. So for me, my advice, and it doesn't have to be with me, outsource as much as you can, right? Because let someone else do the heavy lifting while you can focus on what you do, right? And build this and build that authority figure and have this as something else that's on your resume. A potential client may listen to your show first and say, hey, I love your show. I want to work with you, which has happened to me. And I've talked about, right, that entrepreneur show, founders of companies and brands for at least 7 years, 10 years to help people on their journey. Very similar to this show. This one might be better though. So make sure you subscribe here. Then we got a mental health break. I interview people just to talk about their mental health experiences, right? Not just TBI survivors. And Pod O'Clock is my show to help people learn podcasting. That's the beginning of the entry value ladder. Then the book, I want to start a podcast, and then coming alive podcast production. But yeah, I mean, it's all a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about, Nick alluded to it in the introduction. Like when we first got started, we were 1 month that we knew that there was we knew where our strengths were and where our limitations were. And so we worked with a company, and the first month did not go well. And I remember we were like, uh-oh, uh-oh, like what are we doing about this? And you came in, and I think there's a few things that I think you and the team did extremely well that gave us the confidence to build on the momentum. And it was you had systems, very clear and active communication. And then you shared one thing with me in Podfest, the first Podfest we went a couple years ago in Orlando. I don't know if you remember this, but we were chatting about something, and when you're talking about your target audience, you said think of one specific person. Like if you were doing the podcast for just one person, who would that be, and what would they want to hear, and what could you give them? And I always took that to heart because it really simplifies it. Like sometimes you can think, oh, a target audience, and it seems big or nebulous and kind of, but when you think about it, it's just one person. Like if I could sit across and share some advice with one person, who would be receptive to it? What would they look like? What would they resonate? And that was extremely helpful. So thank you for that, because you really helped simplify something very early in the journey that I keep close by to this day.
Well, it's something I did wrong, right? That entrepreneur show. It is, yeah, for entrepreneurs, but it could be niched down more, right? It's got to be entrepreneurs in the finance field, entrepreneurs in tech, entrepreneur, right? It could really, it's just
Niche.
been so long, and niche it down, niche it down. Like, I'll say here first, I may have a TBI podcast eventually coming out. It may just be YouTube, I don't know, but that mental health can be niched down to traumatic brain injury, right? Or survivors or traumatic brain injury families, right? The more you do, because it's a smaller pond, but it's a lot of people in that pond where if you just have a show called like the baseball show, right? Like, what about baseball? What can you talk about more? A team, runs, whatever you name it. So I'm glad that advice stuck because it's something that I'm still trying to do better, right?
Oh,
And
it's
try
a,
to
it's
niche
a
down
journey. By the way, give me an idea. Instead of the baseball show, I think I'm going to do a podcast called Major League based on the movie with Charlie Sheen and Bob Uecker in the spirit of Bobby. I could do a whole podcast just on that
I've
movie.
seen those movies so many times.
You see,
Yankees could use him right now as we're recording this. We got a little losing streak.
Yeah, wild thing. Yeah,
change
there-
the freaking coach. That's what needs to happen. I swear, he's guilty to everything that's happening. But anyway, we go off track. So yeah. So you heard Vincent is the man when it comes to anything was to do with book writing, anything to do with podcast, anything to do with production, a company. So maybe the last question I personally have, then I will leave it to Will to give his to ask this
Famous
famous
question.
two for the win question. But my question is really like, okay, so someone is listening to this and said, okay, I'm ready. I already have a podcast, so I don't have a podcast, and I want to contact Vincent to see. Can you? I mean, I know the answer, but can you tell the audience what are the all the things that you can do, because production company meets everything and nothing, but what can you help someone from day one for their podcast?
Well, thank you for asking. It's very nice of you. So we can do, again, all the heavy lifting. We do everything. You record and we'll do the rest, right? We're not a social media growth company, but we can make content. That's an algorithm I've been working my whole life, it seems like, trying to figure out, right? But we're someone who can start your show, or many of our clients came from another company. We can either help you rebrand or just help you change and grow any way you want. As far as the book coaching, that is a possibility. I'll never say never, but it's not something we're going to advertise because I made the mistake of advertising too many things, confusing my audience, right? So right now, we're Coming Alive Podcast Production. It's comingalive.podcastproduction.com and Living Proof TBI Coaching, livingprooftbicoaching.com for traumatic brain injury survivors and their families or caregivers. Those are really where we're headed. And, it's been an honor to work with both these guys. So please remember to subscribe to this show for them because they do work hard at it. And I've been enjoying seeing their growth. Like we talked about before, no perfect podcast episode. Go to that Entrepreneur Show first episode or a mental health break. I promise you'll find the confidence to finally do it. 'Cause it's real bad. It's robotic. It's systematic, right? And even if you go to their first show, you'll hear the growth of where they are today, how they lead a discussion now. It's really, really inspiring for me to be behind the scenes and get a first peek at it. And, I appreciate all the kind words throughout, right? We're not perfect, but we always promise to give you our hardest work and do the best we can for you.
Yeah, you've been fantastic. You and the team. It's been an awesome journey. And one other thing, I know we didn't touch on it much, but we do have principals, teachers, school administrators who listen. You may have heard earlier what was mentioned about Vincent and the work he does with children on mental health. And we know that that is obviously an area that many people can benefit from. So if you are a school administrator, principal, teacher, check it out. Let them know. I know it's a passion project of yours. It's something you do to help others. It's not something you do to profit from. And you get out there, and I know you do a lot of networking. You get on TV and up in the Tampa area and stuff like that. So just want to make sure we give a shout out to that as well. But the famous question, Vincent, and you probably heard this more than anybody besides Nick and I, is if there is one question we didn't ask that you wish we would have that you could share with our audience, what is that question and what is your response?
I think you both, as always, do an incredible job. You don't leave anything on the table, but I'll leave maybe 3 tips for your audience on the way out. But before I get to that, you heard about the mental health books. Email me. I'll give it at the end. I'll send you a free PDF of the book, right? I'd rather someone have it, that needs it in a habit than go on and can't buy the book for whatever reason. Please take me up on it. I'll send you the book. But 3 tips, and this is with the brain injury, but it also works for others too. One, before bed every night, I time block. I live and die by my phone calendar, but I have 3 to 3 is my typical writer. I've been trying to get 5 to 5. It's getting changed, but write it out. give yourself a time audit. You'll see how much time you're actually wasting unintentionally, and you could fill either laundry or other things in those areas, or you can add more tasks, right, and get ahead. I find my stress goes down as I see what I'm looking at. Granted, as entrepreneurs know, there's always a cancellation or two, but when that happens, you have other tasks, right, that you can fill in. At the top, right, my 3 most important tasks before email, before social media, no rabbit holes. You got to go get those done and then move forward. The second is D&D during the day, right? I mean, if it's important, they'll call back or they'll text, right? Or you have a doctor calling, okay, maybe leave it off D&D. But that's something where minimize distractions and I get a whole lot out of it. And then third is simple. Anyone could do it. If you're in the cold weather or the warm weather, you got to take a walk. You can walk in the house if you have to. When I stare at the screen for hour and I just take a 10-minute walk, go around the block and come back. Not too much time, right? Not too much, but the sun is a good mood elevator, the vitamin D, and those are just 3 free things that I do every day, and they're the make or break for everything I do, and they're free.
Love it. Well, there you have it, winners. Some practical tips you can take away and implement as soon as you stop listening to this recording. So thank you for that, Vincent. Much appreciation. And thanks to Nick for working with you with the book so that he can introduce me to you at the podcast. It's been great. And you shared a lot of great nuggets of wisdom with our audience today. So thank you for that. And thanks for coming on and sharing those with them. Much appreciation.
Thanks so much. If you want to, again, touch with me, my email is info@vincentalanci.com. You can book a call with me at timewithvincent.com. It's more limited. So if you don't see something that you can make, just email me and I'll find a way to accommodate. But timewithvincent.com, easiest place.
There you go. Love it. And we'll also have it in the description, folks, so you can get a hold of him and take advantage of his free offer on the mental health book as well. But that'll do it for this Mindset Monday. Again, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow 2 for the Win on your favorite platform. We're on all of them. Thanks to Vincent and his team, including YouTube. And thanks again to Nick Menard and nickmenard.com and the 1% Push Legacy Amazon bestseller. That'll do it for this episode, winners. Come in and check us out next week. Take care.
Bye, winners.
Thanks again, guys.